September 5th, 2017. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aguilar. Present. Councilmember Sicairos.
Present.
Acting Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, Councilmember McCabe and Mayor Soria non-attendance and their absence is excused.
Okay, change to the agenda, council?
Yeah, one change. I was wondering if we could move the item number 14, making appointments of rec commission.
Okay, we can do that right after the presentation of CalPERS. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Another change,
Mr. Rivers?
yes, that would be item number 11. We will pull that item from the agenda, please.
We're pulling it for... Tabling, okay.
Yeah, or tabling, that is, sorry.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda, council? Okay, so there are no changes. Reporting from closed session, there are no reportable actions. Direction was given to staff. And at this time, we'll go to the presentation of proclamation to Rocio Valencia Mendoza. Our mayor wasn't able to make it, so I have the great honor of doing that for Rocio today, okay? So if you would kindly, I think we may have to wait a couple of minutes here, so we'll just wait for a couple of seconds. Come on in. Okay. Yeah. Okay, what we have is a proclamation. It says, whereas Rocio Valencia was born in 1979 to David and Maria Valencia, longtime resident. Rocio was raised in Livingston, attended local elementary schools, graduating from Livingston High School in 1997. And whereas Rocio developed an interest in cosmetology, having been around the beauty business most of her life, and her mother, Maria Valencia, which I know for a long time, owned Valencia's beauty salon on Main Street for 35 years. It was an interest that led Rocio to attend beauty college in Turlock, and whereas while at the beauty college, she met Azea, an outgoing young lady from Merced. Rocio because good friends, the relationship continued to grow and strengthen over the following years. And whereas it was the year 2003 where both Rocio and Azea lived, lives changed dramatically. Rocio got married and moved to Livingston from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Unfortunately, the same year, Azea was diagnosed with lupus, a cruel autoimmune disease that can attack skin, joints, and sometimes organs. And despite living apart for several years, Rocio and Azea grew separately without growing apart. Rocio led a happy life in Mexico with her husband and 2 children until 2010, when she decided to move back to the U.S. Meanwhile, Azea married and 2 daughters of her, and whereas unfortunately Azea's condition got worse, eventually leading to kidney failure. Azea began dialysis and was put on a waiting list for donors, and whereas upon her return to the Central Valley, Rocio was able to be closer to her beloved friend. We had long talks about Azea's lupus and medical treatment. After a year of failed donor matches between Azea's friend and family, Rocio knew that she wanted to help her friend and that she would be wanting to donate the kidney to Azea, and where after Rocio kept offering and Azea refusing, Rocio got tested at UC Davis and learned that they were almost perfect match. On June 5th, 2017, both Rocio and Azea underwent a procedure that could hopefully change her quality of life for better and give her back her hope for a longer, healthier life. Now, therefore, be resolved that in honor of Rocio's courageous and unselfish act, kindness and loyalty to her beloved friend, on behalf of Mayor Jim Sawyer, on behalf of City of Livingston City Council, are designated September 5th, 2017 as Rio Valencia Mendoza Day in the city of Livingston. And also, if you noticed, we also heard and it's on our consent calendar, a resolution supporting the Dialysis Caregivers and Dialysis Patient Act of SB 70, where people don't want to be treated like a assembly line, so they say that when they go and they want to have a dignity of receiving dialysis, not just come and go, you know. So this was actually a perfect timing, and they both matched perfectly. And I'll come in for a minute.
So, pasen aquí.
Okay, so we do sincerely thank, and it's very courageous of what you were doing. Would you like to say something?
I had no idea, but I just want to thank everybody that has been a part of this. It was a long road for Isela, and I think that I got there at the end, and I'm glad that I was able to help, but I don't know, I just very, very off guard. I thank you, and if anybody can help, you can change somebody, you can really help somebody. Thank you.
One of the greatest gifts you can give or sacrifice you make is for someone else's well-being, where you may take a risk yourself. And that is very, very courageous, and not too many people were willing to do that. And for that, we applaud you.
I would like to ask the other family to come on up and take some photographs. This is a minimal moment. Definitivamente esto es algo sumamente orgulloso, de que haya podido aportar, ayudar, dar vida a alguien más. Pasen por favor enfrente para que se tomen una foto aquí con la familia. Hey Chief, are you taking some photos? Yeah. Sí, este es un reconocimiento familiar de todos los participantes. Queríamos nosotros Valencia's Mendoza's Day. So un aplauso, give them a big round of applause again, please.
you imagine being able to have the gift of giving somebody else life? I mean,
The most I've ever done is give blood, you know? And even then, you're scared. Okay, moving on to item number 2, this is we have a word, and first of all, it's been the perfect timing for me today, is also, we have a recognition, 17-year public service recognition to Pearl Merchant by Chief, and just to put a little bit of it, she remembers us volunteering together. We volunteered for a long time, and it was, I'll tell you, you could not find a better person to volunteer with. I was Victor 1, and she was Victor 2, and I don't know how I got to be Victor 1, because she started before I did, but that's okay, it must be, but, well, we had a lot of fun. You made our training meetings, that's very exciting. So I guess I'm going to hand it over to Chief. And Chief?
Yeah, thank you for those comments, and I was actually going to mention that. I know you were a volunteer for a time period, so I'm sure you remember her work, so thank you for those comments. And Pearlie, I'm going to ask you to step up front for me so we can really recognize you. And I enjoy history, and this is a big part of Livingston Police history, is the last 17 years working with Pearlie Merchant. And Pearlie, I talked to her about her time here, and she has a motto, and it's kind of mirrors the Army's motto about be all you can be, and that's her philosophy. Be all you can be and do what you can, and she has truly enjoyed life to the fullest, and has done so many things, not only for the community here in Livingston, but for the police department and throughout California. And I'm going to kind of recite real quick a little bit of her history, some things I didn't know about, and so I enjoyed interviewing Pearlie. So let's tell a little bit about Pearlie Merchant. She was born in Madison, Mississippi, and lived on a farm until she was in the 5th grade. And she grew up with 9 other siblings, so it was a total of 10 in her family. She moved to Jackson, Mississippi, where she grew up and graduated from Lanier High School in Jackson. After graduating, Pearlie moved to Oakland, California, where she enrolled in junior college. She went to work for the IRS and was engaged to be married. Sadly, her fiancé was killed in Vietnam. She then went to work for the city of Oakland in the main library. For there, she went to work for the Oakland Police Department for 5 years. And while at the Oakland Police Department, she was a police clerk. She did criminal ID records, ID lab, and taking mug shots. So hopefully you took a few mug shots in your time. From there, she went to work for the East Bay Regional Parks District as a manager at the Copy Center. She then returned to college to earn her bachelor's degree at Golden Gate University. And she graduated with a business management and transportation management degree. So good for you, Pearlie. Using her newfound education, she went to use it, and she worked at the CF Air Freight and then as a manager at the Holiday Inn. While doing so, she developed a long-distance relationship with a young gentleman who was stationed at Castle Air Force Base here in Atwater. And while she came to visit from Oakland and the Bay Area to the Central Valley, she got to know the area very well, not only Atwater but Livingston. And she at some point, the young gentleman moved back to Nebraska, so Pearlie needed a place to live. So she came here to Livingston and bought a house in 1988 when the population was only 6,000. So that's a long time ago. She continued to work in the hospitality field, working at Marriott's in the Pleasanton as a waitress at the restaurant in Turlock, and she also worked at the Modesto Police Department for a short time as a CSO. While working as a waitress, she met a customer at the restaurant in Ceres who owned some truck stops. And given her experience in transportation and her education experience, he basically hired her on the spot. What I want to know is, did you take your apron off and just kind of throw it to the ground, or did you just give some time? I mean, so she worked there for 3 years, and then she went to work at Gerber's as a traffic manager until the company closed and moved to Reno. She perused the newspaper and found an article for the Livingston Police Department looking for some volunteers, and that was 17 years ago. She called the chief then, Chief Eldridge, who hired her, and she's been here ever since, for 17 years. During that time, she also worked at a chicken factory in Foster Farms. She took a break, and in the last 14 years, just retiring this year, she worked at Walmart. And I cannot tell you, she's been an inspiration to me. She's been an awesome, just a dedicated volunteer. And I can tell you, there's not too many people around at the police department that have the years in dedication and service to the community that Pearlie does. And I just want to take the time to just thank you, Pearlie, for all you've done. And on behalf of the police department, I'm sure the council appreciates what you do, and we hope you do another 17 years. So thank you. And, we're going to give you a certificate of recognition award to police volunteer Pearlie Merchant for your tireless efforts and dedicated service of 17 years to the Livingston Police Department and the community, and it's signed both by your favorite lieutenant, Chris Soria, and myself. So thank you.
I'd just like to thank Chief Chavez and the Livingston community. As he said, I moved here in 1988, and I have been an active part of the community. I appreciate the opportunity to help in any capacity that I can.
I'm sorry, you have to say it again.
All right, here we go again. Thank all of you. I just wanted to say, as they said, I thank Chief Chavez. He just came along after I was volunteer. As they said, I initiated the volunteer program with Chief Eldridge, and the Livingston PD staff, Lieutenant Soria, the sergeants, and the dispatcher, they were all instrumental in my training and my service there. I would like to thank all of them for their help. And as I said, I've been here in the community since 1988. I moved in from the Bay Area, and I appreciate the opportunity of being part of the Livingston community.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And I will tell you this, anytime we have a potluck, Pearlie's always good for some awesome deviled eggs. So thank you, Pearlie.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is, I see a child that's kind of getting tired already, so we're gonna go ahead and do 14, Brad. We'll just hold you off until the next item. We'll go to item 14 at this time. This is a resolution making appointments to fill the vacancies on Livingston Parks and Recreation Commission. And Jackie, come on down.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we've had an exciting time with the Recreation Commission, and as you may remember, on June 6th, you guys appointed 7 members. Well, in the meantime, we've had 2 that have not been able to get their jobs in school in line with our rec meetings. And so we've had some people that have attended the rec meetings, and when we knew there was going to be a vacancy, we actually approached these folks. And they're here tonight. One of them is Julio Mion, and the other is Christine Fernandez. Their applications are in your packets, and as you can see, they love this community and are eager to be a part of our commission. So, do I just go on with the resolution? And sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
So it is our recommendation that these 2 folks be appointed. They're here tonight to answer any questions and introduce themselves to you. So if you would like them to come up and just give a brief word. Sorry, guys, I didn't tell you we were going to do this, but
Surprise.
we'd love to have you come up and say hello, and then we can go on with the resolution.
Yeah, isn't it 30-minute speech each?
At least.
Yeah, it'd be great if they could come up and just introduce yourself and say, what you want to accomplish with the commission. Just something brief. Hello, my name is Julio Millan. I've pretty much lived here all my life, so I've gone through the recreational program as a child. I've seen what it does and how it helps, so I guess now it's my time, my turn to help out and help improve whatever I can for the rec department. That's the main reason I'm joining the committee, so thank you.
Thank you, Julio.
He's ready to go.
Hi, my name is Christine Fernandez, and I moved to Livingston in 2008. Work brought me here, and I want to join the commission because I'm a mom now, and just seeing how great it is to get him interacting with other kids and learning new things, and I have a sense of wanting to volunteer and never quite knew where I would be able to fit in, and so I started with the rec coaching and volunteering in other departments, and so just kind of felt like it would be the right fit for me.
Thank you.
Does the council have any questions for the applicants?
No, only one item from the city manager's office, and one of the things so that both of you know what we've been talking about as it relates to the Parks and Rec Commission, we were actually talking about adding one additional item to the Parks and Recreation, and that's art. We've been talking about beautifying our community. We've been talking about incorporating some murals and stuff like that. So that's a discussion that we're still continuing to have, and so hopefully you guys embrace the arts too. Not that we're going to give you a huge packet, but that is something we're talking about, and we would certainly appreciate you guys embracing the art component if that was to be added. So.
Okay, any other comments? Jackie, anything else to add at this point? This is a resolution, so it is open to the public. Does anybody wish to make a comment? If I don't see anybody coming forward, I will close this item to the public and bring it back to the council. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Is it two separate motions?
No, I believe it's just one.
Okay.
It's a resolution.
Okay. I make motion to pass resolution, city council making appointment to fill the two vacancies for the rec commission.
I have a motion by Councilman Aguilar. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Councilmember Sicaros. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Sicaros?
Yes.
Acting Mayor Sama?
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote 3-0.
Congratulations. Now we'll go on to, back to awards and presentations and proclamations. At this time, item number 3, this is a presentation regarding CalPERS discount rate change by Brad Grant, Interim Finance Director. Mr. Grant, welcome. Your first official presentation to us. And you even have a clicker. Most of the time, we don't do that.
You know, we've had so much good, positive stuff here this evening so far. I hope I don't take the tone of the room down with my presentation. But anyway, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city manager, city attorney, members of the audience, the issue that we're going to talk about today is not just a City of Livingston issue. It is an issue that affects all cities within the state of California who contract with the California Public Employees Retirement System. And so don't feel like you're being singled out and this is just something for you. Everybody is having to deal with this. So I think it's important for maybe the audience and maybe those watching on the streaming who don't know who CalPERS is, we'll just take a minute and explain that CalPERS is the acronym for the California Public Employees Retirement System. It was established a few years back as part of the executive branch of the state of California, and their job was to manage pension and health benefits for public employees, retirees, and their families. At June 30, 2016, they're a pretty big gorilla in the room as far as pension systems are concerned. They have about 302 billion, that's with a B, billion in assets, and they claim to be in the top 10 in the U.S. And another one we might think of as a Social Security system is way beyond that, but it's part of the top 10. And as of a few years back, they'd contracted with about 3,000 agencies, local agencies like this, school districts, special districts, and so forth, and they covered about 1.8 million employees. So then we say, well, what does the city of Livingston have to do with CalPERS? Well, back in October of 1975, the city contracted with the then California State Employees Retirement System, and now CalPERS, to manage the funds that administer the retirement benefits for the employees here. The CalPERS funding model is basically a three-legged stool, if you want to look at it that way. Almost 2/3 of the money comes from investments, then a piece of it comes from the employers, and then the smallest amount comes from the members themselves. And so this is the model that they work on, and this is the one that we're going to be talking about this evening. So what's the problem? I mean, sort of why is CalPERS fiddling with this and adjusting it? Well, again, this is the big plan. This isn't Livingston per se, but for them, more cash is going out than coming in. Well, we all know with our personal finances, when more cash is going out than coming in, that can cause problems. And the actual investment returns, they've not matched what they projected the investment returns would be, or the discount rate. And that's what we're really going to zero in on here in just a minute. The estimated return over the next 10 years by their outside experts is 5.8 to 6.2%. So if we look back a few years, back before the interest rates dropped considerably, they were pretty much in fixed income kinds of things, and they pretty much had a guaranteed income stream, and it was very predictable, very steady. But as we know, over the last so many years, interest rates have fallen dramatically. There was a housing bubble that burst, and so in order to try and get those returns back up, they went to much more speculative and risky investments, such as real estate and equities or stocks. As of June 30, 2015, the overall funded status of the complete plan, not just Livingston, but the complete plan was about 73%. And if you roll the clock back about 8 years before that, it was funded at 101%. And so, in an ideal world, the return and the estimated rate or discount rate sort of match, and that keeps the fund at 100% funded status. But that unfortunately hasn't been the case. So what did the CalPERS board do? Well, in December, this last December, 2016, what they voted to do was to lower the discount rate or the estimated return on investments from 7.5% down to 7% over the next 3 years. And they sort of dropped it down in stages, sort of an incremental lowering to try to give employers more time to prepare for the changes in the employer contribution rates, and we'll touch on what that means for the city here. So we talked a little bit about the discount rate, but let's sort of drill into sort of what is the discount rate. I mean, what does that really mean? And again, that's the assumed rate. Remember, this is a long-term plan. It's over many, many years. So when they do their actuarial estimates, they assume that plan will make X amount of money. And so it's the assumed rate of future investment returns again, used to calculate future benefits and current contribution levels. But what's critical here is, if we remember that dollar, and about 2/3 of the money is coming from investments, the higher the assumed rate, that's good, that's the lower future liabilities and contributions, but the lower the assumed rate, that means the higher liabilities and higher contributions. So on the slide just before this, we just said they're dropping the rate from 7.5% to 7%. So what that means is higher future liabilities and contributions. And so why is this important now to the city of Livingston and all agencies that have contracted with CalPERS? Well, it affects the cost of retirement benefits. And that is a core cost of the city budget, retirement benefits. And it certainly is a key component of negotiated salary and benefit packages. So if we look at, over a period of time, what the actual investment returns have been for CalPERS, their one-year returns over there on the left, 0.6%. Now stop and think about that for a minute. 0.6% on over $300 billion of assets. You would say, well, if you'd given the money to me, I could probably at least earn something on it, more than 0.6%. But then, as you can see, 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year, and they've tinkered with the discount rate over the years. Back in 2002, they said, oh, we are going to earn 8.25%. Well, then they said, in 2012, they said another number, and in 2010, another number. So they've never really gotten to the returns that they've estimated that they're going to get. So to focus in on the CalPERS solution is dropping that discount rate from 7.5% down to 7%. And they're going to do it over 3 years, starting in 18-19. The year that we are currently in, 17-18, is still at the 7.5%, but starting in 18-19, they're going to assume that the plan will only make 7.3, and then 2.25, and then 7. Now, how they're going to do this is they're going to phase it in over time. So starting with year 1, they'll sort of take 20% of that new amount they've created by having the lower rate, and then 40, 60, 80, and 100%, and that goes out to 2034. And then once they get to 100%, then they'll slowly back it off 80, 60, 40, and 20. So in total dollars, you say, well, what does this mean? If we look at the actuarial reports from CalPERS right now for the city of Livingston, that green bar across there, with the discount rate at a 7.5%, the unfunded liability, and that's really because the plan is only funded between 78 and 82%, it's not at 100%, there's an unfunded liability for the public safety side of $1.34 million. Miscellaneous, $2.78 million, so sort of the total unfunded, which is this gap between 78 or 82 and 100%, is about $4.12 million. Now that is currently being amortized each year in the rate that is paid by the city of Livingston. And there's different items in there depending on the years and when they sort of popped up, but there's sort of an amortization period of between 8 to 30 years. Now when they drop down to 7%, excuse me, what that does is it changes the public safety's unfunded liability from 1.3 to almost 2 million. Miscellaneous from just under 3 million to just under 4 million. So the total increase is going from 4.12 to 5.63, and it drops the funded ratio from 72.9 to 76.3, 76.4. And then that new additional layer, they're going to amortize over 20 years. So that's sort of the total cost. Then if we say, okay, how is it going to affect our budgets annually? And I've sort of broken this into two pieces. One is total citywide, and the other just the general fund, because that's our discretionary money and that's where most of the dollars are. In the 17-18 continuing resolution budget that was passed, the citywide cost is just under $600,000. The general fund cost is just a touch over $350,000. So if we look at the years for next year, 18-19, PERS has given all the agencies sort of a range that you can use to estimate sort of what the increase will be. They have a low and a high. So citywide, based on their calculations, we should go from $595,000 to $676,000 on the low end, or almost $700,000 on the high end. General fund cost, you can see on the low end, it goes up just about $50,000, and then it goes up about $60,000 for 18-19. When we get out to 22-23, which is the full phase-in, you can see the citywide cost has gone from $600,000 up to just over $1 million on the low end and almost $1.1 million on the high end, or a 68% increase or an 82% increase. On the general fund cost, you can see 352 up to about 600,000, or under the high scenario, about 645,000. So this has a serious potential impact on the city of Livingston budget. It really does. So just to try to quantify this a little bit and say, okay, sort of what does this mean? In 18-19, that CalPERS increase will take about 1% increase in general fund revenue just to cover that, 1%. If we look out in 22-23, that cost will require about a 5% increase in general fund revenue. But the reality is, the average increase in general fund revenue over the last 5 years is about 6% a year. So you can see, and this is all based upon current salaries, current level of benefits. We haven't built into this an anticipated COLAs or negotiated increases or anything, just to give you a sense of how this all comes together. So I'm sure as you think about this, you go, well, does this solve the problem? I mean, it's one thing if it solves the problem, it's another thing if it doesn't. Well, CalPERS staff, I watched the board meeting when they actually passed this thing, and CalPERS staff stated that this will help close the gap, but not fix it. Again, their outside experts estimate that there'll be a 5.8 to 2% average return over the coming decade. And they also said that this issue would be revisited in about a year. So when they did this in December, about a year, we'll put it in December or January. And they indicated that maybe the CalPERS rate might need to go a little lower. So I'm not sure how good news that is. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I'll start out with the council. We were having fun until now.
I sincerely apologize, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Aguilar, any questions?
It'll be yes to the city manager. I'm sure you've been, brainstorming ideas, or what are your thoughts on that?
Mr. Scottos, any questions at this time? Well, you know what, this is going to affect a lot of people, and we do have some employees, so I know that you're going to be doing this presentation for our employees tomorrow, but for the ones that are here, or even for the public in general, does anybody have any questions? If not, we'll close off the public comment portion of it. But I do have, Mr. Grant. Now, I understand the discount rate and the increase and all that. It's going to be completely taken up by the employers, or it's going to be affecting any employee contributions?
Without MOUs that are negotiated, where the bargaining units agree to pick up some of that increased cost, it'll all be on the employer.
Okay. Okay, I knew that answer, but I just wanted you on record. I knew that answer. Okay, so anyway, what I'm going to do is right now, I'll leave it to, I'll hand for comment to Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, you have anything to add at this time?
Yes, only just to, communicate to our employees and communicate to the public that we are certainly taking this very, very serious. And for that, it's always very important in what we've been doing over the last few years, and that is making sure that we educate, one, our employees, and then two, any public entity that's out there that wants to know a little bit more, because this is complicated stuff. This is not something that is easy to digest, and so that's one of the reasons why we're having an educational lunch tomorrow with our staff, and we'll continue to revisit this, and then also, as you know, as we start to get our budget finalized for council adoption, however many workshops we need to have, we're going to have, just to make sure that everybody knows kind of what is happening. One good news is that I do know several municipalities, I won't name names, that are smaller and that have a bigger unfunded liability, so I really feel for them. But our focus, of course, is here, and so I know that with the help of the entire team, all 56 employees or more, and the community and the council's help, we should be able to turn the corner. And I know it's not going to be easy, but I know we can turn the corner. So thank you very much. Right.
Yeah, and the council would like to reach out to the employees and say, it's not just you guys, we're going to all get together and figure this out. It's not, we want to take care of you, but we need your help and come up with some ideas as well. So as we go through the budget, please contribute in whatever capacity you can. Give us some ideas. We would really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Grant. And with that, we'll move on to, I don't see Supervisor Espinoza in the audience. We'll go to staff announcements and reports. And I already see Mr. Chavez got his item queued up already. Chief?
His clicker.
And he's got a clicker, so.
I got a clicker, I'm ready. Yeah, keep this agenda short. And I know, I apologize, I haven't done a presentation here for a couple, I think at least a month or two, so just trying to catch up. Our burglaries have gone down quite a bit. We've had a couple of successful arrests. Just recently, we made 2 separate arrests of some suspected gang members who were involved in some serious crime, committing burglaries, stealing checks out of businesses, committing fraud with those checks, writing fraudulent checks, served a couple of search warrants, and came up with a lot of good evidence. And we've got 2 folks that have been put behind bars, and that's had a significant impact on our gang rate and our crime involving burglaries. I put the picture up there because if you haven't been by the St. Jude's, to me it's kind of humorous. Father Harvey has a sense of humor. So it says, trust in God, but lock your car. And that's what we encourage our residents to do, and make sure they lock their cars. And this is just a follow-up. Had 16 gang-related arrests last month, 2 gang sweeps. Again, Sergeant Maris, the folks in the gang unit are doing a fabulous job, and it's really assisting in the reduction of and maintaining the crime rate we have here in Livingston. They actually, one of our detectives initiated some enforcement against 3 separate residences here in Livingston where they were growing outdoor marijuana, and ended up confiscating all that and destroying it.
Was that within city limits?
That was within city limits, yes. And that kind of brings up the topic of a workshop. I know city manager and the city attorney are working on maybe doing some workshops involving recreational marijuana here in Livingston, so that's something to expect in the future. Beginning of school, we had our officers at all the schools, basically reminding parents school's back in session, officers assisting the youth and the parents getting to school safely. As always, it's a little chaotic at the beginning of the school year, but things kind of tend to settle down a little bit. But our officers were out there. We had a Northern California law enforcement torch run in Merced County, and this was a torch that went to Sacramento. It's a great program assisting the Special Olympics, and the final leg for that torch run ended up here at our police department. So we had a lot of law enforcement agencies participate, and they ended up here at Livingston, and it was a fun time. 4th of July, I know pretty much everybody was out there, great time. One of the things, Lieutenant Officer did a great job maintaining the safety of that event. One of the things I want to touch on real quick is there was some issues a little bit with some of the traffic. One of it involved a car that caught on fire on Walnut, and that blocked traffic for quite a while, and unfortunately it was one of the days that was kind of busy, and so I want to thank the fire department for their response in putting that out, but it did block traffic for a little bit. Explorers did a detail last weekend down in Laguna. We had 27 explorers and 3 advisors, actually 4 advisors that went. 2 of them are new advisors. Eddie Jimenez and Beatrice Pareda are both new advisors that helped out quite a bit. And again, it's a great opportunity for our explorers to get involved in the program. We took them up to Yosemite National Park. They met with Deputy Chief of the Park Rangers up there, Gus Martinez, who provided an overview of what it's like to be a park ranger, and talked about the experiences he had in his 25 years of rangering, not only here in California, but throughout the United States, and he was stationed up in Alaska for a while and told some stories, which is good. Again, it's something to educate our explorers on that career path, and it was a good opportunity for them to hear directly from him. I was gone for 2 weeks. I was in Poland. It was a vacation, however, did spend the time to spend a little opportunity to meet with some police chiefs who actually spoke English very well, and we talked about the challenges of law enforcement. They actually face many of the same challenges we do here in the United States. And some of their laws are different. Their DUI laws in Poland, it's .02. If you're over a .02, you can actually spend 6 months in jail. If you're .05 or higher in Poland, you will be sent to prison for 3 years. So their DUI laws are a lot more strict. With that said, I just want to make sure you guys know that that's not vodka on the table. Just so you guys know, that's water. Okay. Lieutenant and I took a tour of E.J. Gallo. For those of that you don't know, the Homeland Security monitors a lot of the large businesses throughout California, and they did basically an inspection of the plant, and we went out there to network with their staff. They've got actually a large security staff that does a great job protecting that facility. I think they have over 80 security guards, and they do a great job. And so it was a time for us to get out there and just take a tour. I'd never been to that plant here in Livingston, which is in the county area, to look what they have there and the importance and the significance of some of the things that they're actually protecting. So it was a good opportunity for us to network with them. And one of our volunteer firefighters with Sergeant Fong, doing a great job. That was actually a case they had of an arson that burned a trailer down. But I put that out because there's a lot of fires going on there, and Chief Baraka can explain that on some of the things that he's involved with. But we actually have 3 officers that are actually down in Madera right now assisting on a mutual aid call from the OES, from the state. This is overtime for them. However, it's all reimbursed by the state through the Office of Emergency Services. And lastly, we partnered with McDonald's here in Livingston. October 4th, on a Wednesday, is National Coffee with a Cop Day. And so McDonald's decided, hey, let's do Cone with a Cop. And so we're going to have free ice cream to anybody that goes to McDonald's on October 4th from 2 to 4. I'd like to invite all the kids to come there, and we'll have, it's a Wednesday, which is an overlap day for us, and we'll actually have some extra officers. So I'll be out there, we'll probably have 6 officers out there, basically meeting the community and having a lot of ice cream. So I invite anybody from the public and the council to join us that day. So, and with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. All right, thank you.
Any question for Chief? Well, then, Fire Department, do they have anything to present? Okay. Okay, well then, I will go to, first of all, I'd like to introduce Anthony, his first official full day, and he's still smiling, so,
And he started at 5:40 in the morning.
yeah, so somebody didn't treat him right, you know? So, Public Works, do you have any, you have a presentation at this time, or you're not really prepared for it, Noe, or? No? Okay, then we'll skip Public Works and we'll go to Recreation.
You guys are excused. See you later. No, it's good.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement. All my other announcements are going to be made by Councilmember Aguilar when his turn comes. But I wanted to remind everybody, the Sweet Potato Festival is just around the corner, and we do have discount tickets at City Hall, so you'll want to come get your wristbands. You'll be saving $10 and then half price on the sheet tickets. And we'll be selling those at a discount through 9/22, which is the Friday before we get into full action at the Sweet Potato Festival.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
HR is there, do you have anything to present, or you just here for observations? Supporting the staff, okay? Very good, okay. And then, Mr. Sensor, do you have anything to report at this time?
Sure, I think the police chief, however, covered it. We are planning on bringing a workshop regarding cannabis to the council. We're thinking about either a special meeting or at the latest at the next council meeting, not only discussing cultivation and the new laws or the newer laws, but just refreshing the council on those. I know we had a workshop, it was at the end of last year, on the issue, but also as the time comes closer to when licenses are going to be issued by the state for different types of establishments, of cannabis establishments, that's something the council may want to just bring up again. They're bringing it up in the counties around us and jurisdictions around us, so bringing it back to the council for consideration.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank, I'm very fortunate to have two great employees that we just brought on board, and I'm very happy, and I had them come today, and I want to thank them for, I didn't plan for this to be this long before I presented you both, but I'm very appreciative of both of you being here. So I'd like to individually present each one of them. First of all, I'd like to present Nancy. Nancy, if you can please stand and come real quick to the front, I would appreciate it. Nancy's career started here with the City of Livingston in October of 2015 as an office assistant. And once I took office back here, I just really noticed, how, with the work ethic and, her smiley contagiousness and so forth. And so, certainly wanted to make sure to give an opportunity and promoted her and now she's responsible for the utility billing. Nancy possesses a can-do personality and is always eager to learn or help others, no matter what the task might be. Nancy offers great customer service and goes beyond her job duties. She never says, "I can't," when I need a new task. So, and then on top of that, Nancy is married to Andres, and she has a 6-year-old son, Andrea. And so in her free time, she likes to do a lot of crafting. So thank you very much, and welcome to the City of Livingston. Thank you. I appreciate it. She doesn't want to give a speech. All right. Our most recent hire, her name is Myra, and her last name is DeHary. Myra's career started on just last week, Thursday. If you can come up, please, Myra. So literally, she just started this last week on Thursday. She's our new office assistant, too. Her primary function is customer service, assisting residents at the counter. She will also provide clerical support for the administrative service department and is bilingual as well. Myra has lived here in Livingston for 8 years. She's originally from Turlock. She came to us from just right across the street, working at West America Bank here in town. And so Myra is married to Ricky, and they have 2 children. Jaden is 10 years old, and Jaslyn is 8 years old. And on her spare time, she's one of the few females I know that likes football, watching football, but she loves football, reading, listening to music, and relaxing. So thank you very much. We're very fortunate to have you, Myra. So you guys are excused. Thank you so much for being here. So we appreciate it. All right, and Dana, thank you also for being supportive in our staff. So let's give Dana a round of applause. Yes. So I have a few more items that I want to go through them real quickly. The first thing that I want to make a comment on, and I'm pretty sure that our council and our residents are with me on this, and that is that we're all saddened by the recent decision of DACA, especially because it was specifically designed to protect our youth who came to this country without any other place to call home. It has allowed youth who came to this country to build their futures, to have a voice in our society, and to contribute their labor and wisdom to our economy. So I'm sure that as a council, as a community, there should be something that we can do in that regards. So moving along, as you know, one of our top items has been, okay, how do we need to do everything we can so that we can get the ACE train to stop here in Livingston. So, and I appreciate several of our council members, Gopal and McCabe and the other council members, having been very involved in the ACE train. And so we actually participated in a big event that just took place this past week in Merced. So with that in mind, I wanted to make sure that we can get as much data that's currently out there, so to support, not just we want the train and we want the station here, but really show some scientific data that why it makes sense to open the train station here. So I reached out to a couple of professors. One of them is Dr. Thomas Pogue, and the other one is Jeffrey Michael, and they're both part of the Center for Business and Policy Research at the University of the Pacific. And so I was able to reach out to them, and I told them, look, we really need to figure out what our commuter patterns are here, folks coming from the north coming this way and vice versa, and what other data is out there that we can really, package together so that we can make our pitch, other than, we're farther away from the last stop, which is Merced. And so, anyways, there's going to be, I'll be dialoguing with them a lot more. They're going to give me some data, and we're going to figure out what else we can do so that we position the city of Livingston in the best possible way to land that. And then what the community can do is, we're going to reach out to the different bigger employers here, ask for their letters of support. But if you think of any other things that we can do to really show that Livingston should have the ACE trains here, because it is going to transform our downtown for sure, because it's slated to be in our downtown right next to the Liberty Market. And so it might require the community saying, you know what, we want to pay all or a portion of the station to make sure that it comes here. I don't know. There's a lot of moving parts, but we got to do our best to make sure that it doesn't pass, that we didn't do our best and then it passed us by. All right. So moving along, the other item I have is, we've been talking about building a new fire department back, building behind us. And so been reaching out, looking at different ways to make this come to fruition. And so we reached out to a company called Privatized Development for the Public Sector. And basically they're a nonprofit, and what they do is, it's kind of like what the school district has done on the lease back program. The end result of this development program is that the design, construction, and financing risk is transferred to the private sector. And I think that there's some great opportunities. We're just starting to look at this. Brad and I had a conference call. We're going to have a face-to-face, and they provided some material, and we'll certainly be sharing it with our legal counsel. They've done a lot of these different projects, but we want to do our homework. But if that's the case, then at the end of the day, we would save some money. We would be able to basically lease it and then buy it back in our final payment for $1. Okay, so we'll continue to look at that. One of the other items that we've been looking at is, how to maximize and use some of our city resources and make a little bit more money and help some of our departments, like the Parks and Recreation. So one of the things that we've been talking about with the community is using that dirt area that's currently not necessarily being used at Max Foster Park to have, there's been a lot of truckers that's been asking for, we would like to park there, on an intermittent basis, and we'll pay a fee. And we know when you have events, we can't park there, but we would like to, pay a certain dollar amount for that, and we'll sign a release waiver and all that. So we did our due diligence here, and we contacted risk management, and they actually provided us with a release of waiver liability and specifically for vehicle storage. And so that's something that we're looking at, because that would generate some funds that we can put back into the same Parks and Recreation program. And so I'm looking at that. It looks pretty good, pretty promising. Let's see. Chief was going to chat a little bit about the tour bus parking. Did you want to say a quick word on that, or did you? Yeah. And as he's talking about that, I'll just prep it by saying that one of the things that we want to do is we certainly want to be inviting, we want tour buses to stop here, we want people to come and spend their funds here and so forth and so on. So we're trying to figure out ways to make it more tour bus friendly, and so that's where the chief will come right in.
Yeah, one of the things the city manager had an idea, and something we talked about, and I think it's a great idea, and something we can do based on our municipal code is to authorize specific parking in the city. And so on Gallo, on both sides of the street near Taco Bell, as well as near Starbucks, is to paint the curb green and identify it as tour bus parking only. And with that would allow buses to have a space specifically for them, and we can reach out to all the tour companies that are traveling through to Yosemite, Reno, 99, is invite them to come to Livingston, and we'll reserve parking for them, and as long as they want. And the whole idea is provide a convenient location for them to stop and have food. And so that's something I want to throw out. If we have any comments from the community or from council, I'd entertain those.
Good evening, Council. Rodriguez Bonilla, Livingston. Just to add to what the chief is saying on the tour buses, right now there's a group from Atlanta that wants to buy 40 acres from, but it pertains to this, 40 acres from the county, and they want to do some type of touring area, but eventually a lot of like Merced or Atlanta wants to steal some of that tour buses from us and pull them to different, with the different type of attractions. So we're going to do, we're doing the right thing about trying to accommodate, the touring buses, because it's a big business. So I agree that we need to do as much as we can, even if we need to purchase a few acres for parking for close to all those restaurants that we have. So we want to make sure that we don't lose that, those sales tax, and our business don't lose that. So it's very beneficial. So if I hear anything now, I'll let you guys know. But that's I'm hearing that around the county, because they know that a lot of businesses, especially during the holidays, I've said in the past that we count up to 10 buses sometimes at their park at 6, 7 in the morning. So thank you.
Yeah. And then lastly, Council, on my list of things that I'm wanting to go over is that as far as the decommissioning of the industrial wastewater plant that Foster Farm is working on. So upon number 10, they've they've actually have requested that that one be closed, but there was some pushback by the board, so they're going to have to revisit that. And then ponds 1 and 3, the sludge was removed this year. And then, of course, ponds 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, those have all been sludge removed. So I would estimate that for final decommissioning, we're probably still at least a couple of years out. So that is it, unless you have any questions for me. Thank you very much.
There's any questions for Mr. Ramirez? If not, the supervisor, I'm going to go back, I know you weren't at the point, but the supervisor have any report to make out?
Yeah, real quick, I'll just make one quick comment, just to follow up on the bus parking. I think we can accommodate 5 to 6 buses, and, this is a time to be creative, and I appreciate the creativity of our city manager and any ideas that come up. Is at some point, maybe there's some vacant land near the subway out there, is maybe develop some sort of visitor center where we can highlight some of the local products, such as sweet potatoes, almonds, wine, cheese, whatever, and again, attraction to Livingston. And so anyways, I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
Supervisor Espinoza?
Thank you. To add to the chief's comment, I think they even, working something out with Gallo where behind TA is pretty close. We can put some gravel there, and then we can have the buses parked there in case we need extra parking. So, to my comments regarding, we had some through MCAG. I know Councilmember Alex McKay wasn't, it's not here, but we were there when we had the meeting with the rest of the committee regarding Metro V and all the projects that we're looking at. So we made sure that we mentioned the bottleneck at Winter Parkway and also the Hammond overpass. But I think it's time also too to look at having meetings regarding the general plan updates and to make sure that we, that side of the freeway is whether the city needs to do a environmental on the property where Wilma was going to go into, and evaluating that as well too. So make sure that to address whatever we need to do with in regards to Hammond overpass, as well. And I got a call from actually Patrick Pittinger, the MCAG CEO over there, executive director, saying that MCAG was going to use CMAQ money, like $500,000 to contribute because the state wanted to move forward and add the extra line from Livingston to Delhi. I know it's beneficial too, but I just want to make sure that they don't consider that as a Livingston project. I know that's mostly a Delhi project, because if they consider that, I feel kind of weird because, they're going to want to say, well, that's your project from Livingston, and, that's all you guys got. They're also right away, they want to use the $500,000 instead of using those funds to do the bottleneck, which is more in dire need for Livingston. So I'm going to make sure I check with Patrick. Also, the Ace Train, I wasn't able to be there, Jose, as you mentioned, for last week's meeting at with the Ace Train. I know Adam Gray and Camilla and you guys were there. I had another meeting regarding Caltrans. The main person from Caltrans was there in Planada, so they were addressing the roundabout at Highway 140 in Plainsburg over there. So I had to be supportive over there with the county as well. So that's why I couldn't be there. Also too, hopefully, I know that Jose, you've been pushing for, I think was it the Route 20 PG&E dollars? And I know that the county used some of that for the Walnut, and they're going to continue to do the phase 2 on Walnut, all the way to California Street in Winton. And, we got to continue pushing that as well. So let me know if we need to have a meeting with our CEO and our public works director, so I can make sure the public works director is there to ask, how much funds can the city use, or is Livingston able to talk to PG&E and make sure that we can get some advance dollars to do the project on underground the tunnel lines on from Main to Winter Parkway, all those right there. So, and other than that, right now, sorry I'm late. at some other events in Merced as well, so at least I try to make it over here. So if there are any questions?
Do you have any questions for Supervisor Espinoza?
Any questions for the
Thank you,
public?
sir. You want to ask for the audience?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, we'll go to City Council member announcements and reports. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes, I just want to say thank you to Noe from our engineering's office. He gave me a tour of our public works facilities. Ended up having lunch with different employees. It was really great opportunity to learn more about the city and our services and our needs as well. So I want to thank him. He left, but make sure he knows. I told him thank you. Yeah. Also, I want to report I attended the Rec Commission meeting. There's a lot of good stuff going on with the Rec Commission meeting. They're getting ready to assist with the mentoring program. They're also assisting the 4th of July committee with our first annual trunk or treat. That's going to take place during Halloween time. They also discussed their goals and are hosting a Rec Commission meet and greet on Thursday, September 14th from 7 to 9 out here on Main Street. They also discussed the role of Rec Commission, of what the Rec Commission should be, and also talk about the art district in downtown. We have a presentation from local artist Joel Aguilar. Provided a very good sketch. It looks really great, a historical sketch, and I'm sure we'll be moving forward with that. So I'm also coaching Little League Soccer this year. Thank you, Jackie, for putting that, every year, the soccer. This town's a good soccer town, and it's going great so far. And that's it.
Councilmember Scarros?
Great idea at soccer, at the soccer, what do they call it, the opening ceremony? Caught me off guard, but it was a good idea, so thank you. Nothing to report.
Okay, for me, I just have one item, and this is the thank you passed from the ladies over at the Memorial Park this weekend, the Atenea Mila Festival, where the Indian ladies all get together and have the little thing, and the guys cook for them. They don't allow the guys in the event, so it is that Public Works, there was confusion on their part with the communication. They really came through, and of course, the police department, as always, they came through as well. So really, they really wanted me to pass a thank you to the entire city for their continued support. It was a great event for them. And with that, we'll move on to citizen comment. This section of the agenda allows the members of the public to address the city council on any items not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public when recognized by the mayor should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in accordance with the state open meeting laws. Remarks shall be taken by the city council this evening for the items which are on the agenda this evening. Members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the city council as each item is brought up for discussion. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? Seeing nobody moving forward, then we'll close the citizen comment portion and we'll move on to consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar considered routine and non-controversial will be enacted by one vote unless a separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council city manager requests a specific item be removed. Item number 4, resolution authorizing the city manager to file a regional surface transportation program, RSTP, estimated exchange fund program, fund claim form for fiscal year 2016-2017. Resolution supporting dialysis caregivers and Dialysis Patient Safety Act, SB 349. Resolution approving and ratifying the master recipient funding agreement with the Merced County Association of Government. Number 7, approval of minutes of meeting held on June 6, 2017. Number 8, approve the meetings held on June 20, 2017. Number 9, approve the meetings held on August 8, 2017. Number 10, approve the warrant register dated September 1, 2017. I'll entertain the motion at this time.
I'll make motion to approve the consent.
Motion by Councilmember Aguilar, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Sicardo. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Sicardos?
Yes.
Acting Mayor Sama?
Yes.
Consent calendar approved by 3-0.
Okay, under discussion of potential action items, number 17 is tabled at a later date. And number 12, this is the city council accept the bid for carpet replacement at City Hall and city council chambers and authorize city manager to sign a proposal on behalf of the city of Livingston. And this is to Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, Vice Mayor Paul. So based on communication from last city council meeting and direction from council, we went ahead and bid the actual carpet replacement or LVT replacement again to make sure that we communicated and extended an invitation for bid submission from our local vendors. And we only received two bids, and it was opened here there were sealed bids, and they were opened here, and they were advertised, by the way, in the paper and on our website and stuff. And staff went ahead and opened the bid here, and the lowest bidder was Commercial Design and Services, Inc., and the dollar amount is $37,599. So at this time, we're recommending that the council approve the contract for for $40,000, not to exceed $40,000, in case there's some things that come up that we don't know about. So not to exceed 40, so that we can move on and start planning so we're not going with carpet, we're going with a new material called LVT, which is really a great material. It's commercially warranted for a long time. It has like a 25-year lifespan, and it doesn't have, it keeps bacteria away, easier to clean. And so with that, unless you have any questions, I recommend that council move on this contract.
Okay, this item is open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to address this comment? I haven't, sorry. If not, I will close off to the public. Council, Mr. Sicaros? Mr. Aguilar, any questions or comments? So then I will entertain a motion at this time.
I make motion to authorize city manager to execute the lowest responsive bid for Commercial Design and Services, Inc., Fresno, California, and not to exceed $140,000 for carpet removal and installation of preferred climate planks at City Hall and City Council chambers.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Councilmember Sicaros. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Sicaros?
Yes.
Acting Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 3-0.
Okay, item number 13, this is the waive the first reading, introduce the ordinance adding Chapter 9, electric vehicle charging station permits to Title 4 of the Livingston Municipal Code to provide for an expedited streamlined permitting process for electric vehicle charging stations, and this goes to Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, the item before you, the ordinance, amends the municipal code, Title 4, to add a chapter titled Electric Vehicle Charging Station Permits. This ordinance is actually in compliance with AB 1236, which was signed by the governor on October 8th, 2015. What the ordinance does is it establishes a streamlined permitting process for electric vehicle charging stations. As we all know, the going green, and especially with vehicles and charging and electric vehicles, there's been quite a big movement. I was hoping the mayor was here. The mayor has actually been talking about reaching out and getting some grants maybe for an electric vehicle here at the city. Well, what this ordinance would do is establish a checklist to pretty much provide all the requirements out there for folks wanting to establish a charging station or have an electric vehicle charging station built here in the city. It's meant to streamline the process and move things forward. Hopefully, this helps get a charging station or two here in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. This item is now open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to address this item? If not, then I will close this to the public and council. Councilmember Sicaros, any comment? Councilmember Aguilar? I also don't have any. I will entertain a motion at this time.
I make motion to waive the first reading, introduce an ordinance adding Chapter 9 electric vehicle charging station permits to Title 4 of the Livingston Municipal Code to provide for an expedited streamlined permitting process for electric vehicle charging stations.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Sicaros. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Aguilar,
Yes.
Councilmember Sicaros,
Yes.
Acting Mayor Samra.
Yes.
Motion approved, 3-0.
Okay, council, the last item's already been addressed. Any further business? If not, we are in adjournment. Thank you.